Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, good afternoon. It's an immense pleasure to be here. It's an immense pleasure to be here and to deliver a talk at this meeting. So what I'm going to share with you within the next minutes are the details on our attempts to explore the utility of modern nicotine delivery systems as potential nicotine replacement therapy tools. And our team, research team, consists of scientists from 3 institutions, but it is my particular pleasure to introduce you Dr. Valery Menshov, who is here at this meeting, and he's the major contributor to such a project. So we are available all the time between the sessions. So please welcome to us to discuss all the points of mutual interest. And we are currently busy with both tobacco heating systems and electronic cigarettes, but most of our research efforts at this stage of the project are focused on tobacco heating systems. And the comparison between both products category was made last year here. It's at the same meeting by Dr. Fausalinas, who favors electronic cigarettes for a number of reasons. And the slide repeats his conclusions. Here underlined are the disadvantages of heat-not-burn tobaccos and some of course, on his opinion, and some challenging issues. But basically, we agree with him. But we should stress that some of these disadvantages are undoubtful advantages or benefits for the target users. The third pertains most prominently to organoleptic properties of aerosols derived from heat-not-burn tobaccos, but not only. For electronic cigarettes to be considered as medical tools, there exist 2 problems. The first one refers to the organoleptic properties of the aerosols, because normally people who will try to involve in these studies as volunteers say that, okay, give us better something similar to regular cigarettes, because we don't like this taste. And the fact that people are switching to electronic cigarettes are governed not to the less extent by the increasing prices for conventional cigarettes. And the second problem refers to that to the fact that the remote issues, the remote consequences of using electronic cigarettes still need to be studied. And so whom we examined? We examined smoking patients diagnosed with chronic diseases like chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases, asthma, etc., and healthy volunteers from the hospital personnel. And what did we do? We actually measured. We did some measurements of vascular pulse oximetry. We did spirometry tests and a number of diverse analyses of biological fluids. Okay, and I should say that. And I should say that practicing doctors were most helpful for us and most collaborative, unlike public health authorities who in their majority do not believe at all in any utility of novel alternative nicotine delivery systems as for their potential use as medical tools. And so a few words about, a few numbers, I would say, about our major group of patients. So I should say that 3% of global population are affected by COPD. Smoking rate in our country, in the Russian Federation, is as high as 35%. And 70% of COPD patients have higher risk for depressive symptoms. Smoking cessation attempts may be less successful, and proportion of relapses may be higher. And 85% of COPD-related patients are current and or ex-smokers. So the major point in our questionnaire before we start recruiting the patients was, would you agree to participate in the experiment if you would have to give up smoking, switching to e-cigarette for 1 month? And here are the outcomes of these attempts. Basically, visual assessment of cigarette-like e-cigarette without any possibility of testing the product plays a minor role in making decisions by a patient to participate in the experiment. And on average, 1 person out of 5 agrees to participate in the experiment after testing the product. But normally, e-cigarette type was cigar-like, so that means the simple one, the simplest one, but without additional information. And informing the participant on cigarette designs, and most prominently on the disadvantages and deficiencies in such a design immediately after testing, but before starting the questionnaire, affect adversely the patient's desire to participate in the experiment. And the same question we asked people who were suggested to test heat-not-burn tobaccos, and but the results are the following: 3 of 10 individuals agree to participate in the experiments, and patients with COPD, I should say, are very, very selective and picky about alternative nicotine delivery systems. And for the time being, so far we have not succeeded to recruit enough volunteers among the patients, and so we, at this stage, we performed studies mainly with healthy volunteers from medical personnel of the hospital where we do this work. So factors which influence the decision to participate or not to participate in the experiment are the following. The factors of refusal to participate refer to the discrepancy between the expected and the habitual taste of the aerosol derived from nicotine delivery system, difficulties, technical difficulties to handle the device, and hard starting costs of devices and editions, and factors of consent encompass the similarity of, first of all, the similarity of the taste of aerosol derived from your device and its prototypes, namely cigarettes, relative ease of use, and moderate cost to handle the device further. And the experimental design was very simple. So the volunteer was sitting in a ventilated room 2 meters from two men who were smoked their cigarettes or the pattern devices, and his physiological parameters were measured after the sessions, while quality of the while the air quality was monitored permanently and continuously. And you can see first portion of the results. As you can see, about the air quality, you can see that using heat-not-burn tobaccos results in at least 6 times lower concentration of toxic organic volatile compounds, and in peak concentration of the particles whose size are less than 2.5 microns. This peak concentration was at least 10 times lower in case of heat-not-burn tobacco. And now the results on passive smoking or passive vaping, so to say. Here, I don't have time to go too much into the detail, but here are the standard spirometry parameters, and here are their values. And as you can see, for passive smoking, the results for passive smoking, the results were pretty much similar for healthy smokers and for non-smokers. And also, it is interesting that the consequences of passive consumption of aerosol derived from heat-not-burn tobacco disappeared very quickly, at least within 1 hour after the session. But frankly, the same pertains to this were non-smoking patients, but the same pertains to smoking. The same pertains to smoking patients too, and it is noteworthy that immediate consequences of passive smoking and passive consumption of aerosol derived from heat-not-burn tobacco were again pretty much similar. So the conclusion is both passive smoking and passive, let's call it passive vaping of THP affect the basic parameter of spirometry, but the consequences of passive consumption of aerosol derived from these tools disappear quickly in contrast to passive smoking. So then we were interested in the potential impact of nicotine, and what we have seen, what we have observed, we just used we used electronic cigarette and filled with propylene glycol solution of nicotine, and we have seen that nicotine taken alone results in the impact which is just short, which constitutes which was so short term. So the influence of nicotine was very was indeed pronounced, but short in time. But in contrast to the influence of cigarette smoke, you see on all the cases a protracted influence of the smoke of regular conventional cigarette on spirometry, on the standard spirometry parameters. So conclusion is, while smoke from conventional cigarette causes a prolonged bronchial obstructive effect, the nicotine from electronic cigarette exhibits only short-term impact. And but what was the reason for the protracted effect of cigarette smoke? Our suggestion was that bacterial endotoxin in the smoke may be responsible for such observations, and the following experiment shows that such a suggestion indeed makes sense. As you can see, inhalation of endotoxin, again using electronic cigarettes as a delivery tool for now for endotoxin to the organism of volunteers. In such cases, the effects was in terms of time of the same value, and the last control experiment with heat-not-burn tobacco shows that in all the cases the effect of an inhalation of heat-not-burn aerosol derived from heat-not-burn tobaccos on the same spirometric parameters. The effects these effects were just nominal. That means that the potential influence of endotoxin in aerosol derived from heat-not-burn tobaccos is just very small and simply nominal. And the last experiment I'd like to show you is the influence of the tobaccos in alternative nicotine delivery tools and in regular cigarettes on phagocytic activity of human blood cells. As you can see, all types of tobaccos results in activation of phagocytes in human blood, but after heating, what is happening? The influence of smoke, or the influence of tobacco after heating, or tobacco from regular conventional cigarettes results in inhibition of phagocytic activities, while tobaccos from tobacco heating systems exhibit quite different behavior. For instance, in IQOS, the level of phagocytic activity in the case of IQOS remained unchanged, while in the case of GLO, it went even decreased to the control level, and but didn't cause any inhibition of phagocytic activity. So our conclusions are tobaccos from THP sticks are less active towards cells of immune systems than tobaccos from conventional cigarettes, and while tobacco from GLO exhibits nominal activity towards phagocytes compared to control samples, the tobacco from IQOS upon heating remains the influence of tobacco from IQOS remained unchanged, while tobaccos from conventional cigarettes upon heating suppress the phagocytic activity, so exhibiting thereby an immunosuppressive effect. And our conclusions are the following. Patients with COPD, due to their age and habits, experience severe difficulties with refraining from smoking. Then tobacco heating products as alternative nicotine delivery systems closest to their prototypes, namely tobacco cigarettes, partially meet the needs of smokers diagnosed with COPD, and THP merit attention for further investigations as potential nicotine replacement therapy tool for patients with COPD. And their benefits compared to e-cigarettes, not to the less extent, are associated with their advanced consumer properties, and the latest developments in the field of heat-not-burn tobacco design are not much inferior to electronic cigarettes in terms of reducing the toxic properties of their aerosol. Moreover, the work of evaporator is adequately stable in the case of heat-not-burn tobaccos, which includes overheating and dry puffs phenomena reported in the literature for some of e-cigarette brands, and composition and biological properties of aerosol generated by heat-not-burnt tobaccos decisively depend on the quality of tobacco in the THP sticks. So that's all what I wanted to say today, and I thank you for your kind attention.